African leaders must speak in one voice when engaging China over policy. The biggest of the so-called Africa Plus One summits, the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Focac, is set to take place in Beijing early next month. The last meeting was hosted by Senegal in 2021. Now in its 9th installment over 24 years, the summit has become an embodiment of South Africa cooperation and a crucial coordinating platform for driving China-Africa relations forward. The Beijing meeting will be the fourth head of state summit under the Focac framework, with 2006 to 2015 and the 2018 meetings upgrade to head of state summits. Although the Focac is still an informal arrangement with no treaty or permanent secretariat, its regularity, it has been convened unfailingly even 3 years since 2000, give much needed stability and predictability in the interactions of the two sides. This is why we have seen the steady growth of Sino-African relations since the turn of the 21st century across diplomatic, economic, security, culture, and development spheres. Over the years, the Focac has grown in size and sophistication. While the first Focac was attended by 44 African states, the 2021 meeting attracted 53 states, including the AU Commission. The content and the agenda have also expanded significantly, demonstrated by the length of the action plan document increasing from just 3,000 words in 2000 to over 12,000 in 2021. Notable changes in the content of action plans have been observed in the last 2.5 decades. For example, in the economic sphere, the 2000 action plan focused on traditional issues such as trade, investments, infrastructure, and development finance, while subsequent documents incorporated non-traditional issues such as digital technology, green development, blue economy, customs supervision, and industrial capacity cooperation. In the security arena, the action plans have expanded traditional security issues to incorporate arms trafficking, illegal immigration, disease pandemics, law enforcement, policing, natural disasters, and anti-corruption. Impressively, while in its early days the Focac was a top-heavy intergovernmental affair, political cooperation has devolved from the predominantly government-to-government format to include lower-level cooperation, including legislatures, political parties, judicial institutions, local governments, the AU, and the various regional economic communities. Cooperation in areas including news and media, youth and women, and environmental protection was first mentioned in the 2006 plan. The 2009 plan introduced the people-to-people and culture exchanges segment, signifying a qualitative change in the relationship that was widely viewed as too formal and oriented towards high-level politics. Moreover, the Focac is becoming increasingly institutionalized and complex, with 28 sub-forums including China-Africa People's Forum, the China-Africa Law Enforcement and Security Forum, and the China-Africa Peace and Security Forum, among others. The sub-forum drive the China-Africa agenda in specific areas. There are also structures such as the China-Africa Joint Business Council, China-Africa Products Exhibition Center, China-Africa Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and the China-Africa Youth Festival, which contributed to growing the relationship. There are special funds like the China-Africa Peace and Security Funds, the China-Africa Fund for Industrial Cooperation, the Africa Growing Together Fund, and the China-Africa Development Fund, which ensures the allocation of the resources to specific areas. Most of the issues that make it to the action plan are first discussed in these structures. The sub-forums such as the China-Africa Economic and Trade Cooperation Forums, China-Africa Think Tanks Forums, and the Forum of Global Action for Shared Development have already held meetings in preparation of the summit. From an Africa perspective, high on the agenda this year will be economic cooperation. Africa's economic growth showed in 2023, growing by 2.1% from 4.1% in 2022, which was due to external shocks such as the high energy and food prices and the debt crisis affecting over a third of African countries. As such, enhancing cooperation on trade, investment, industrialization, development finance, and infrastructure will be of interest to African countries. Moreover, the forum comes amid a global order in a state of flux marked by growing tensions between major countries and the erosion of multilateralism at the global level. The Focac is likely to reiterate the solidarity the two sides have consistently pledged since the inaugural meeting in 2000 on various global issues, including peace and security, climate changes, and the reform of global governance institutions. Disappointingly, Africa is going into another Focac gathering without a common African position on China. Lacking a coherent strategy, African countries end up competing for bilateral deal with China based on their narrow national interests, which produces suboptimal outcomes for the continent. Just as China has produced 3 Africa policies, African nations need to go to Focac armed with China policy will see leaders speak with one voice. Dr. Sizo Nkala is a research fellow at the University of Johannesburg's Center for Africa-China Studies. The views expressed in this video are those of the writer and do not necessarily reflect the views of IOL or independent media. Meanwhile, Africa embraces green transport with the rapid adoption of e-bikes. By Tsinghua writers Yang Jung, Nie Nzugwa Ling Ying. In Kenya's capital Nairobi, motorcycles have become an essential choice for residents due to their flexibility, convenience, and affordability, with an increasing number of electricity models on the roads. Driven by growing environmental awareness and technological advancements, many African countries have begun actively promoting electricity motorcycles in recent years to reduce pollution and shift towards sustainable transportation. Africa's electric bike craze. With the development of online motorcycle taxi services, the African motorcycles market is experiencing significant growth. In Kenya, Africa's largest motorcycle taxi market, 5.2 million people are employed in motorcycle transport, with 1 in 10 relying on motorcycles for their livelihood. Due to the recent surge in fuel prices, electric motorcycles have become the preferred option as the cost per kilometer is only about 10% of the gasoline-powered ones. The significant advantage has led to a boom in electricity motorcycles in the African market. According to the latest report by the Powering Renewable Energy, a think tank, the African motorcycle market is expected to reach US $5.07 billion by 2027, with the electricity motorcycles becoming the dominant product in the transportation to sustainable transport in sub-Saharan Africa. Many African countries are also considering ways to reduce pollution by promoting electric travel. According to Joy Msuya, former Deputy Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Programme, the rapid development of electricity motorcycles in Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, and other African countries will reduce costs, air pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions, as well as create jobs. Green transportation, a common aspiration for Africa. Based in Kampala, Uganda's capital, Gogo Electric, and of the country's 3 leading electric motorcycle manufacturers, imports lithium-ion batteries from China and assembles electric motorcycles for the local market. Customers can always bring their used batteries to a battery swap station where they can get a fully charged battery at a lower price, said Janus Bisaso, the Chief Operating Officer of Gogo Electric. Bisaso said that over time, customers may realize that swapping batteries is less expensive than refueling, which may encourage them to choose electric motorcycles. Official data shows that the transport sector is one of the country's main sources of pollution, making a transition to green energy transport necessary. The country will fully transition to electric mobility in public transport and motorcycle taxis in 2030. It will entirely shift to selling electric vehicles by 2040, according to Uganda's National E-Mobility Strategy, published last November. Under the strategy, a sustainable transport system will be established with a more than 25% reduction in transport-related emissions and the creation of over 500,000 green jobs by 2040. China-Africa cooperation in manufacturing chain. According to a report by the International Energy Agency, the electric vehicle market in Africa has seen rapid growth in recent years, with notable successes in countries such as South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya. With their technical experience in motorcycle manufacturing and batteries, Chinese companies have contributed significantly to this revolution with their affordable, high-quality products. ARC Ride, a startup in Kenya, has based its R&D, assembly, and sales locally, but some parts still need to be imported from China, India, and Japan, with China providing the majority. Spiro Electric Vehicles, another major player in African electric vehicles, signed a strategic cooperation agreement with a Chinese company in 2023 to sell 500,000 electric motorcycles over the next 5 years, covering emerging markets such as Kenya and Uganda. China is an inspiration for many African companies in the field of electric transport, said Bisaso. Gogo Electric plans to build the largest lithium-ion battery assembly plant in East Africa this year, and China is a key partner in this endeavor. And that's it from INJIBS Africa. Stay tuned to USA and political updates.